A little lighthearted fare here with Chris Kluwe, the former NFL punter who's suing his former team. Chris joining us now. Chris, how's life?
It's doing all right. How are you doing, Dan?
I'm doing okay. Would you still be in the league if you were silent, if we didn't know much about you personality-wise?
Yeah, I believe I would because I was very consistent in my time with the Vikings, and I wasn't the best punter in the league, but I wasn't the worst by far. I mean, I pretty consistently ranked in the top third or so of punters. So, yeah, I think I'd still be punting.
But is it more the topic that you talk about or that you're just, how vocal you can be? Like, what happened with the Vikings where they just said, you know what, we're not going to deal with this?
I think it was the subject matter because the Vikings had never really had a problem with me being vocal earlier, and then they actually asked me to help them out with various marketing things over the years because I had people who followed me on Twitter and because I was vocal.
Why are you suing your former team?
Because I believe they wrongfully fired me because I spoke out for same-sex rights.
What if they just said you were too expensive or your skills had diminished?
They actually have tried to say that, and I believe that we have arguments that show that those are falsehoods. In terms of being too expensive, I was scheduled to make, I believe it was like $1.4 million, and other punters that had come in at the same time as me, my contemporaries, quite a few of them had signed new contracts that were paying them at least $2 million a year. So for the same production, they were getting someone at almost, two-thirds of the cost.
But what are you, 32?
32, yeah. Generally when most punters are hitting their prime.
Okay. When's the last time a team reached out to you?
That would have been my tryout with the Bengals in 2013, I believe.
And why didn't you stick?
I don't know. I felt that I punted very well at that tryout. I felt I did everything that they had asked me to do. They were deep in the season looking to make a playoff run. I'm a veteran punter who's played in the playoffs and done well in the playoffs. And, the guy they ended up keeping, they cut 2 weeks later. And then they picked up another veteran punter, Zoltan Mesko, who wasn't at the tryout. And, Zoltan's a good dude. I like Zoltan. But the fact remains is that they had seen that I could do what they needed me to do, and they didn't keep me.
Talking to Chris Kluwe, former NFL punter, joining us, Dan Patrick Show. It's getting ugly, though, with the Vikings, Chris. Why?
Yeah, these things usually do. It's the Vikings are engaging in the classic tactic of smear the person who brought the complaint when things are going into legal matters. You see it a lot in harassment and discrimination cases. And, a real interesting thing is that the summary that they released, so from what we know, the original full report is 150 pages with 1,600 pages of footnotes. And the Vikings released a 29-page summary. 3 pages of that summary deal with the subject of the investigation, Mike Priefer. 26 of the 29 pages deal with the person who brought the complaint, who is me. And obviously they don't paint me in a flattering light.
Why was Mike Priefer suspended and fined? He's the special teams coach. So what was it about his disposition comments that got him suspended?
He made homophobic comments. And the Vikings are trying to play it off as, oh, this is just a one-time thing. We only found the one time. And clearly Mike Priefer, he's learned his lesson. And, I'm actually all for Mike Priefer learning his lesson. I think, redemption is a good thing, and I think he can learn from what he's done. But the fact remains is that he made more than the one comment, and there are witnesses who saw him make more than the one comment. And the Vikings are trying to cover up for someone who knowingly lied to them.
But why is that part of the lawsuit with you being terminated?
Because he is my direct supervisor. And he's the one in the position to make recommendations on whether the team should keep me or get rid of me. And he has contact with me on a daily basis, and he clearly created a hostile working environment.
But here's the part I don't agree with. If you really feel like you were dismissed unfairly, when you start to give me rumor or innuendo, or if you guys want to play dirty, I'm going to talk about the 2 well-known players and having sex with an underage girl.
Dan, 1 second. Having sex with an underage girl is your words, not mine.
Okay.
I said a compromising situation, and that can mean a wide variety of things.
All right. Okay, but you're still getting dirty with them. Like, if you got your case, Chris, then why why go there? You don't even need to go there.
Because this is a large, multi-million-dollar corporation who has shown they're not going to stop at anything to try to keep this report from getting out. And they need to understand that I'm not going to be scared off by them trying to make this ugly.
But you're hurting other teammates, though, Chris. You're bringing in people that, if that was the case and you had a problem with it, you could have brought that up at the time about your teammates. Not now. I don't think you're being fair to your ex-teammates.
Dan, I question why there is this culture of don't talk about what goes on in the locker room. I mean, isn't that what contributed to this whole situation in the first place?
Well, you can.
Do you want to see that?
But
continue?
It feels blackmail-like.
It's not blackmail-like. It's saying that the Vikings have created a culture of covering things up, and that we're going to expose that culture because it is something that has been very much illustrated in their current action.
But it can come out in the trial, though, Chris. I think when it comes out publicly, I don't know. It just felt beneath you. I think that if you have a case, you're a smart enough guy, you're going to get a settlement here. You said, I think you're donating the money to charity here. So I don't know. I just, it felt like it was a curveball thrown in there. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, and I can understand that. And I'm not going to say I wasn't upset when I saw the Vikings summary. You're talking about the fact that this is a team that just spent 7 months investigating this, has said they're going to be open and transparent the entire time. They want to get to the bottom. They want to change things.
Sure they do.
And then they release a summary that effectively, paints me as someone who makes fun of victims of child abuse, which in the full report, I know what I said to the investigators, and I know I told them everything that went on in there, and the Vikings have access to that information. They could have released that. They could have said, yeah, this was a joke that like tons of other guys on the team were making, that Kluwe and Kluwe had a joking relationship, but they didn't. They painted it in a way to try and smear me. And it's like, I'm not someone who looks at a large corporation doing something like that and is happy about that. Like I think that kind of stuff occurs way too often in our world, and we let it happen because no one wants to stand up to anyone.
And you did apologize for the Jerry Sandusky child abuse jokes that you made.
Yeah. I was attempting to make a joke to make fun of the culture that allowed something like that to happen, because I think it's horrendous. I would never make a joke that makes fun of child abuse victims, because I think that is a horrible thing. And unfortunately, it looks like it was a bad joke, and people are offended by it. And for that, I apologize. That was definitely not my intent. And if you are offended by it, I do apologize.
What if the Vikings just apologized to you? Would you accept their apology and move on?
If they released the full report and then took steps to correct the culture that allowed this situation to occur, then yes, I would be okay with that. That's all we've been looking for this entire time, is what does this full report say? What is the culture there that allowed this to happen, and how can we fix it?
Tony Dungy in the news, his comments certainly getting a lot of run on social media. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about the reaction to what Tony was saying about Michael Sam.
Well, I think it's something that just goes to show why a case like this is important, in that there is a culture in the NFL where coaches don't want to take an openly gay player. They don't want an openly gay player on their team because they're afraid of the attention that comes with it. They're afraid they won't know how to deal with it. And when you look at someone like Tony Dungy, who very publicly advocated for teams to take Michael Vick and, Tim Tebow, guys who come with distractions of their own, you have to ask yourself, why does he publicly advocate for these guys who he knows will be a distraction, but then says he wouldn't take someone like Michael Sam, whose only distraction is being himself?
But Michael Sam is a seventh round. At best was considered mid-round talent, fifth-round talent. Tebow, first-round pick. Vick, a number one pick. He said he'd take Johnny Manziel, number one pick. So talent trumps everything, doesn't it?
Yeah, but we have to ask ourselves, is that the kind of society we want to live in, where we are okay with wife abusers and murderers and rapists and, people who commit crimes? Are we okay with those people being on our football teams and giving them a pass simply because they happen to run faster than someone else?
Well, Michael Vick paid his price, though, Chris. He went to prison.
Correct. Yeah, no, I'm not saying Michael Vick doesn't deserve redemption, but I'm just saying that people seem very, very willing to give a pass to people who have committed crimes or are willing to look past those crimes simply because those guys can run faster than someone else.
I know.
And I don't think that's the sign of a healthy society.
Well, it's risk and reward. Triumph. Talent trumps everything. That's no matter what walk of life you're in.
Right, well, let me ask you this: does talent trump the right to be a human being? Does talent trump?
It shouldn't.
Your
It shouldn't.
obligation?
But
right. It shouldn't.
No.
So why do you accept it?
Look. I cover it, Chris. You're the activist.
Right, no, I know.
I'm covering this. Look. Did I have a problem with Michael Vick? Yes. Did I meet with Michael Vick? Yes. Do I understand he paid his price and we give a second chance? Yes. So, look, there's steps that you take. That's do I like what he did? No. Did I appreciate him sitting and talking to me? Yes, I did. So, all I can do is ask questions, and hopefully you get answers. I would hope the culture would change. So, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, no, and I think the other thing too is that the common thread between the guys who have broken the law and gotten second chances is that they needed to be redeemed for something. That is their distraction, essentially. What does Michael Sam need to be redeemed for?
He doesn't.
Right. So why then is there this culture that says he can't be a part of the NFL because of who he is? Why do we accept that?
I don't. And I hope that he gets the opportunity. But I do think Dungy was saying as a coach, I don't want everything else to come in here unless I know that guy can help my team. Like, it's got to be the risk and the reward, and that's what it comes down to. Hey, I got to run, Chris. Good luck with the lawsuit. Always appreciate you joining us.
All right, thanks, Dan. I appreciate it.
Chris Kluwe, former Vikings punter.